Hi, Erin. Hi, Carrie. So great to have you back again for the final part of the Connected Talks on generating revenues. So now it's really time for us to get into the nitty gritty. What are your recommendations on how-tos for associations that want to concentrate on generating revenues beyond events? So how do they get started? Carrie, do you want to kick off with that?
Certainly. I think when I think of that how to, like how do you get action today and start moving, there are a few things. Get your senior team together and really start to assess the products and resources and assets that you have today. Think about them differently and really do think about how you can turn them into products that can be monetized and sold in some sort of a meaningful way. I think step 2 of that is getting out and speaking to customers within that space to understand what their needs are. And those customers could be current members, prospective members, people within the industry and space, but you've got to solve for them in a way that nobody else is solving for them. You've got to find one thing that can be truly unique and valuable to stand up and invest time and resources around. And then I think the last part of that is really thinking that sales opportunity or new revenue opportunity the whole way through. So starting to plan for the type of sales resource, the type of marketing resource, the type of fulfillment resource that is going to be needed to bring it to life and really allow it to be successful. And then I think the last part of that is that the sooner your organization and your leadership team can agree on what that picture of success is going to look like, and I mean reasonable year one success that can turn into meaningful financial impact into year 2. I think it really gives an organization a rallying point to be excited about a new source of revenue for the organization. I'd rather see people find incredible focus over something that they really believe in than to go after 6 different ideas, all which fall a little bit short.
Great. Erin, would you like to complement anything to those insights?
Yeah, well, I agree, of course, with what Carrie said. And I think just to build upon her recommendation for a staff team to really analyze and audit all of the organization's assets, there are so many things that are viewed, for instance, to take an event, an annual conference. There's so many components of that event that could be separate products and opportunities for investment that I think a lot of people say, oh, well, that's just something we do that all at the event. So awards programs are a great example of that. You know, the ability to separate out awards and recognition, I think, can be really critical. In fact, we're working with one organization to do just that. The annual big conference isn't coming back right away, but they do want to go ahead and monetize their event. The folks that reach a terminal point in their designations and their credentials, typically, again, honored at the event. And there's an ability to also recognize those folks and create a standalone opportunity for that. That might be a little deeper and richer than just parading people across the stage, right? Which is what tends to happen. So I think that that's something that really can be explored if we look at things outside of kind of part of the big show, which I think is something that can happen with associations. And, you know, my, you know, kind of how to is we have to stop giving it away. We all know, you know, when we hit the paywall, you know, when you have your max free articles from the New York Times, for instance, you know, every month, you know that there's a trigger point where you say, you know what, it's time for me to make that investment. I'm coming up against this paywall consistently. I think that associations could be more aggressive and more thoughtful of how to create incentive for people to join versus just putting everything out there for people to access. I think that there's a real opportunity there that a lot of organizations are missing. And we clearly have the technology to make those limits now, for sure.
I'll even add to that just a little bit more. One of the things that I love about organizations that really build value around the content that they develop is that they help people understand what it takes to bring that to life and really make it happen. And they do that so that somebody understands why they might have to invest to pay for it. And I think organizations can do the same thing relative to membership, right? You know, in order for us to produce this content, this research, this data, right, we've got to invest and build all of this resource around it. And it's valuable to you and other customers because of, right? But somebody's got to be telling that story and narrative in a way that helps somebody say, this is why I'm going to pay X amount per year or X amount per article, whatever that might be, to be a part of the organization.
I think really interesting what you comment is basically content or the services are key, but the real basics below that is that data is key, right? To make any of these decisions or investments, really data is needed. You both touch a bit on the investment requirement. So how can you see or dimension what the investment is required and what impact can be expected? We hear from a lot of organizations in Brazil and Latin America that have great ideas, but say, it's so difficult for us to get started. So how can they really start understanding investment versus impact?
I think the first, I would say that the first element to consider is that we're in a time where a lot of technology solutions have a declining price point, which is great news for associations. But we as human beings have an unfortunate predilection to equate that if the price for the tech is free or very low cost, then the staff time should somehow be magically free as well. And I think that there's an inverse correlation. As we're asking our members and our community members to do more of the data entry for us, et cetera, you still need staff time to help smooth out the information that's coming in and being able to assess the trends and kind of connect the dots there. That said, this is the time to invest in IT and technology solutions. All of those expenses that organizations have saved on coffee and travel, this is where you should create that fund and go ahead and capitalize an expense over a period of years to really get your organization up to speed. This is the time where we have to see associations migrate to digital and make sure it's digital that the association controls. We don't want Facebook to be an association's default online engagement opportunity because, again, back to my paywall comment, there's not control there. And there needs to be kind of at least some sort of velvet rope where people are able to kind of come in and access.
Yeah, I think I would just add to that as well. I think there are two other avenues that an organization can go when they think about, the investment that's needed on the front end and how to get started. One, I'm a big believer in pilot programs, right? There are ways that you can test and learn and figure out if something is going to start to meet a market need and build return for you. And you can build a pilot program that runs for 3 months and allows you to assess that opportunity and really then decide if you're going to invest in a big way. And we see organizations and clients doing that regularly, quite frankly, when we think about, great, they want to start selling access to a database, but they're not quite sure what the market opportunity and reaction is going to be. Let's pilot a program and try to sell it over 3 months. Let's find out what it's going to take and what we're competing against and pricing, and then really see if we've got a viable opportunity long-term. And then the second part to that is that I think this is a very good time for organizations to be open to the conversation with other allied related types of organizations or even companies, and that there might be more organizations out there willing to partner with you on a project than there were in the past. And sometimes that really can help cut down on what that upfront investment is. And you can plan for, how you're going to split the return, how long the partnership is going to go. But I think those are places that organizations can lean into right now.
Are there any examples that you can share with us of these great ideas that you brought forward?
Yeah, I think in our world, the best example to share is the place where we've been piloting a sales program to try to test and learn and understand the value proposition of selling and packaging some continuing education products for the organization. They had always done just truly a passive sale. Marketing was able to do the sales function for them in a really cost-effective way. But that changed and their competitive market changed. And so we had agreed to a structure that would just make it really clear that, over a 3-month period, we would put forth, a different type of sales effort, one that really was leaning forward, people first, to try to build those relationships and then set those planned outcomes of what success might look like. And so I think the best part over that is that in that 3 months, the association was able to get just a ton of data and intelligence from the market because we were actually talking to customers and prospects. We were able to give all that intel back to them. And then also, as part of their upcoming budget year, we've been able to set a realistic budget outlook and target for what year one is going to look like versus picking a number that didn't have anything to substantiate it. And we've cut off two, we thought there were 3 markets to go after. There's really one good one. And we've decided that's where we're going to focus time and energy. And so that pilot gave us so much insight. And I think it's really going to help us understand how we focus time, energy, and resource to use it in the best possible way to maximize those outcomes initially for the organization.
I think we could go for hours more speaking more about this. I just want to be recognizant of the time of everyone as well. So the question that we'd like to end with is, who inspires you? Erin, may I ask you first?
Sure. I'm going to go with Megan Rapinoe, leader and star, of course, of the U.S. women's soccer team. She's, as a leader of her team, is someone who I think is just fearless and consistent in her convictions. And I think relevant to this conversation, someone who's a great example of thoughtfully looking at parallel ways to create partnerships with other brands while staying consistent to that leadership and values. And just also watching her on the soccer pitch is just watching, I think, joy in action. So I just think she's fantastic.
Soccer in Brazil and Latin America is always good, right? Thank you, Erin. Carrie, what about you?
Erin, that was a home run answer for your audience. I absolutely love it and love any soccer example, a football example that may exist. For me right now, Gina, I am still finding so much inspiration, quite frankly, from our team. I have been blown away by the ability of our customers, our clients, and then even our team and talent to continue to find renewed energy over the last 18 months of the pandemic. So for me, the inspiration comes from the places where you wake up and you're going, what is today going to bring? And knowing that there's somebody else out there on the team that's continuing to say, but wait, we can do this better. There's a new idea out there. There's a new way we can generate revenue. And truly, that's why organizations tend to choose to work with us, but more importantly, I think it just creates the place where we can be successful and thrive. And so for me, that's inspiring.
Thank you so much, both of you, for the great insights. It was wonderful being together and hope to be with you soon again. Thanks.
Thank you so much.